You know what's really great about the Slingshot is you don't have to stop to smell the roadkill. When it comes to cars and motorcycles, I've always had a weakness for the weird stuff. You don't even need to take a peek in my garage to know that. If you look at my Twitter profile for years, it's read, champion of the odd, the unappreciated, the forgotten, and the misunderstood. This Polaris Slingshot would certainly seem to qualify. Now, over the years, I've driven a whole bunch of these crazy things, most recently in 2020 when they redesigned this vehicle and they included a new automated manual called AutoDrive. I didn't love that gearbox because it was slow and jerky, but for 2021, Polaris says that they've fixed all of that and they've added paddle shifters, which is a great idea. Let's hop in and check it out. One thing I've learned over the years is that you can't really treat this thing like a car, and you certainly can't review it like one. And you can't do it like it's a motorcycle either because, well, I'm sitting in front of a steering wheel and I'm sitting down. So the Polaris Slingshot is its own animal, and it needs to be respected as such and scored as such. So to catch you up if you haven't been in one of these lately, they're now powered by Polaris's own 2-liter ProStar 4-cylinder, which replaces the old 2.4-liter Ecotec borrowed from GM. For 2021, that means you're going to get between 178 and 203 horsepower and a sky-high redline of well over 8,000 RPM. Torque is set at between 120 pound-feet and 144, depending on model. Those may not sound like huge numbers, but remember, Slingshots only weigh around 1,650 pounds. That is about 700 pounds lighter than a Miata. As you'd expect, my Slingshot R Tester is the more powerful setup. Now these days, automatics are always quicker than manuals, but here I'm not so sure that's the case. With AutoDrive, it's a lot better than it was, but you still get those lurches and hesitations between gear changes. Frankly, I'm really glad there are paddles because you can just do what you want to do whenever you want, and your body can anticipate that a gear change is coming, so that makes it a lot more comfortable and a lot more intuitive. Polaris says you can hit 60 in under 5 seconds, and mid-range acceleration is actually pretty impressive, especially in Slingshot mode. In fact, it's more impressive than the Slingshot standing start stuff, because with only one tire out back, even a wide 305 30/20 incher, you're traction limited at launch. The good news is, if you bought a 2020 Slingshot with AutoDrive, you can pay a modest fee for your local dealer to add paddle shifters and reprogram the transmission to the 2021 tune. The bad news is a single dry clutch automated manual like this is never going to be very smooth. It's just not possible with this type of gearbox. And Polaris says that they didn't have the room for a conventional torque converter automatic or a DCT. Now, the software reflash and paddle shifters are absolutely worth it, but the 5-speed manual absolutely remains the more entertaining, smoother, and cheaper choice. You know, provided you can drive a stick. All of this driveline refinement talk has got me thinking, and I can't help but wonder how amazing an all-electric Slingshot could be. You wouldn't have to worry about driveline lash or the occasionally grating sound characteristics of this engine. Even if it's not that refined, AutoDrive is doing what it needs to do, opening up the Slingshot to a much broader base of potential buyers. Polaris says that for the first half of this year, Slingshot sales are up over 40%, and over 70% of new model sales are equipped with this new 2-pedal option. 70%. Handling is much better than the first generation Slingshot, and I think the bulk of that is due to the new quicker steering system. This vehicle has 2.5 turns lock to lock, whereas the old one was 3.5, and that's way too slow. This feels much more immediate, and combined with a retuned suspension and your ass sitting just a couple inches off the pavement, the Slingshot actually feels pretty agile. Unfortunately, the brakes in this test model feel different than in the 2020 models I drove at the launch. They're much softer, not as linear, and they're less confidence-inspiring. Of course, with 3 contact patches and a short wheelbase, you probably don't want a super firm short stroke pedal either, because it might make the back end too twitchy even with stability control. Either way, I think the brakes on this unit could still stand to receive some attention. Freeway speeds in a Slingshot are a whole different deal than a normal convertible. You got your head bouncing around in the breeze, your butt's vibrating from all the feedback that's coming through the chassis. It's a whole different sensation. There's a lot going on. Not everybody's going to love it, but not everybody's going to love this vehicle. I think it's a unique part of driving it. So this is a simple interior with supportive seats and great outward-forward visibility. I can see exactly where the front wheels are. I got my knees in the breeze. Feels good. One aspect of visibility that is not good, however, is directly behind me, especially when you've got these helmets on, which, let's face it, you really should, because a rock strike is going to end your day. Thankfully, there's a great rear camera with tracking lines. Polaris improved the interior materials a lot last year, but they still have to keep it weatherproof and UV resistant since there's absolutely no top, so it isn't exactly plush. The biggest news for 2021 is the very welcome addition of Apple CarPlay to the 7-inch touchscreen, along with a louder, clearer Rockford Fosgate audio system. For 2021, pricing starts a bit lower than before too. You can now get into a base Slingshot for 20 grand, but if you need the automatic, you're looking at 21.7. From there, the sky's the limit with more toys and power. The Slingshot R AutoDrive retails for just over 33, and the Full Boat R Limited Edition is nearly 35 grand. That's not inexpensive, but then again, there's a very limited competitive set here, and no matter what, there's absolutely no cheaper way to attract a lot of attention if that's your thing. I drove an orange Lamborghini Roadster a month ago, and it got way less attention than this two-tone cartoon. At the end of the day, I'm still not completely sold on the driving experience of this thing. The AutoDrive, well, it's still a little jerky and slow to react, and the brakes are too soft and hard to modulate. That's true whether you're looking at this as a car, a motorcycle, or what this actually is, an autocycle. So let's face it, you're not going to take this to the track every weekend, and you're certainly not going to go on long road trips. This is about weekends, Sunday drives, or maybe short commutes. Whatever it is, this does that really nicely. So this may sound a little weird, but one of the things that I like most about the Slingshot is how many different types of people love this vehicle. Now obviously if you shy away from attention, this is not for you. But what I'm amazed at is how many different people from all different walks of life really enjoy this vehicle. You've got older guys that maybe were Harley riders and they can't throw a leg over anymore, but this they can get in and feel like they're hitting the road just like they used to in their prime. And then you got young guys and gals that are in the city, they're hooking up big stereos and light kits to this thing and just having a great time. I love that. And then of course, there are little kids and they think that everybody who drives one is a superhero. So the Polaris Slingshot, it's still not perfect, but it is fun to drive and it's got a singular style that nobody else is going to mistake. For Polaris, it's been a sales smash, minting new driving enthusiasts left, right, and center every day. I think that's worth celebrating, and I think it's great having more oddball vehicles on the road.